I guess this entry is gonna be the best way I can follow up on my last one I did a couple hours ago. I got a lot to do today. I gotta change lawnmower blades on my lawnmower so I can cut the grass because my blade's right up and malfunctioning. And I got a refrigerator that ain't working anymore. Like not getting cold and making my food disintegrate. I guess that'd be the best word for it. I don't know. Stuff I put in there don't last. They're not cold enough. And anyway, I gotta fix it or do something. Cause I turned it off now. I turned it off and cleaned it. I was hoping maybe I could fix it. I don't know. But I was seeing pictures, video footage of the bombs and torpedoes or warheads, being intercepted in the skies. Iran and Israel fighting, and you see, the thing is, the thing I watched with Putin the other day talking. Trump wasn't there, and Putin was answering questions about the relationship between and his, what he would do if he would support Iran or what, and because it's a humanitarian kind of catastrophe, and that's the way Putin described it. And Trump wasn't there. Trump said he couldn't be there because he had to tend to the war going on. Well, look, you put a bully in office, you're going to get a certain kind of procedure, looking for a certain kind of outcome. Israel and Iran is not really a threat to Israel, and there's ulterior motivations. Netanyahu, I like to listen to him talk too. I mean, it seems to make sense, but he's always going to have such thing as ulterior motivation, and you put a face on something. That's why they say you can't read a book by its cover. Can't. I don't know. The pretty face is not the. Just because they put a pretty face on something, that don't have anything to do with the character of the person wearing the face. Like that, There's a saying, I just can't remember how the saying actually goes. But like I was saying, most things aren't just as they appear. People and governments try to make things appear a certain way because they want to elicit a certain response and support from the people that they're supposed to be working for, because in the United States, this is supposed to be a government for the people and by the people. And the intelligence is supposed to be in the people, and then the people would trust the leaders to do the right thing. And if they don't do the right thing, then they vote them out. Well, they're trying to impeach Trump, right? Well, at least Al Green, from representative from Texas for the Democrats, he put out I don't know what they call it in the House. They got different rules. I can't remember. A bill or something. I don't remember what it was. I don't remember what they call it. But they tabled it because they said Trump had to help Israel bomb Iran. Well, okay, Russia spent $4 billion helping Iran develop their nuclear power plant, and it's a nuclear power plant. It's not like, you know, making bombs. You know, it could be one step closer to making a bomb, but nuclear power is, if you can contain it properly, it's the cleanest and most efficient, powerful power that we know of, and it's definitely better than burning coal. Well, so Putin, you know, I mean, they helped Iran, you know, but and they asked Iran if Iran wanted to work with them on their I think on their missile program or something like that, you know. They want to know if Putin, you know, wanted to know, and Russia, the Federation of Russia, wanted to know if they wanted to create a closer bond with Iran, but Iran said no. Iran wanted to stay completely independent. They didn't want Russian help, and you know, so that's where it is. And Putin espoused the idea that, you know, every nation, according to international law, has the right to self-determination. And, you know, the people, it's kind of, people, you know, they want to know that they have the right to self-determination too. Slavery, you don't want to be slaves, but, you know, there's always somebody looking to make somebody else their servant, you know, and America is notorious for that. I mean, that's how we came into existence, you know, taking control of the land, coming in like pirates, taking control of the land, you know, confining the Indians to a certain little place, and then we go and we, you know, destroy their water, you know, we put a pipeline right through their water area, and then, you know, the pipeline made out of steel is gonna have a problem, and it always happens. It kills the whole area from toxins. Or sometimes, you know, they'll dump toxins into a river that you know, that the people of the place are dependent on, and that's happened even in America. They make movies about this stuff. You know, I remember a while back there was one town, everybody was getting deformed, everybody was dying, everybody's having certain problems, and, you know, come to find out it was because their drinking water was contaminated. And you know, but I do appreciate, you know, Putin for his forthrightness and honesty, and, you know, he don't mince words. Like, he tells, you know, actually Putin even wrote a book. You know, I mean, he is an open book. I mean, he's not really trying to, his operational methods and stuff like that are above board. You know, they're for everybody to read and understand his policies, and he expresses that, you know, he's made agreements with different areas like, you know, Iran or any the Middle East, you know, and places in Turkey and all that kind of stuff, and different places. But, you know, when the government changes, it's just like in America, you can't rely on governments that have the right to just change their mind. Okay, a former president, you know, he makes an agreement, and then the next president comes along and he just disregards that agreement and says, we're not going to abide by that no more. I don't think it's a good idea. Well, how can you do business with you know, an area where they don't stand by their word, you know? It used to be a common saying when I was growing up that a man is only as good as his word. Or, you know, to be more gender proper in today's sensitivities, you know, a man or a woman is only as good as their word, but or a woman or a man, you know. And that's a rule that holds fast. All right, you're only as good as your word. And if they can't trust the word coming from America, because it keeps changing its mind and doing different things. Well, that's makes for a unhappy state and a lot of problems. So, he was talking about the war with Ukraine and explaining all that, and it's not that Russia is really at war with Ukraine, because they could, if they're at war with Ukraine, and pointed out that like talking about, well, these bombs came from Russia or something like that, or whatever. He said no. He said if the bombs came from us, there wouldn't be anybody there to talk about it. All right. Yeah. And people make a lot of propaganda and push a lot of ideas. They don't really know what's going on under the sheets. People are in bed with each other and rubbing each other's backs. These are metaphors. And then they come up with plans and stuff, secret plans to do things, ulterior motivations, pulling the wool over societies. In the military, there's this phenomenon called create a crisis so you can manage it. Okay? That's another tactic, that people they create a problem so they can manage it, and that way they can get the upper hand on the people that they're trying to manipulate. Well, we have these phenomenons, and we can call them, by different names. We can call them factors in the equation. We can call them dynamics in the procedure. And the dynamic is something that is actually gonna make something happen. Okay. And well, when I was working for Intrepid, I worked for this one company for a long time, and sometimes exclusively, and sometimes just when they needed me. And so I would have to I get this machine or something that I have to go work on. I never seen it before or anything, right? But they give me the manuals. I'd have to study the manual, and I'd have to learn the flow diagrams for disassembling the machine, and then putting it back together, and the procedures for finding out where the problem was. Might be like a bad sensor, or a failed electrical part, or whatever. Sometimes, a lot of times, okay, if I was working on one of these real big, giant televisions that, take 3 people to take off the wall and stuff like that, a lot of times what they would do is they would just replace like main components, like, you got the power board, or you got the main board, and then you got other boards, sound boards, different parts, but they're pretty simple, especially in a display, television like a display, and you gotta learn the flow and stuff like that. Well, everything can be broken down basically into those kind of procedures. They put schematics like that, for even the human body. And in ancient times, they had schematics for communicating with the dead. All right. Or like the bardo from and the word slips my mind, but the Book of the Dead, I think the Tibetan Book of the Dead. There's a place called the Bardo, and that's the intermediate state where you go after you die. And I don't know how they do it. They got all this stuff mapped out. You say, well, it's not true because that's impossible. Well, they used to think that you couldn't talk to animals either. And I was talking about Coco last time. Coco could talk. You know what? You can do experiments today. Like you can talk to water, and the water will respond to what you say. They prove this stuff in experiments, and you can probably do your own home experiment. I think what you do is you take water, you put rice in the water, you make three jars, and then you talk to one jar, and you tell that jar how much you love it and everything like that, and talking nice to it, generate feelings. And then you talk to the other, and then you leave the other jar just totally unattended, never talk to her, nothing like that. And then you tell the other jar how much you hate it, you despise it. I think you're ugly, and plus you stink, and I don't like you anyway. Right? All right. Well, they've done these kind of experiments. I've seen it. I've never done it myself, but they show how that even water, the crystals and stuff like that will form based on the energy that you put from your being to the water. Oh, look, man. It sounds like fluff, but these are legitimate experiments. You can talk to plants, and plants will respond. Right? See, in our most people have a different mindset that other parts of creation can't have no feeling. They have no thoughts. They just are what they are, and they're nothing more. And we don't actually know or see what they are, and we don't even care. Right? Some parts of nature hold the secrets to our own survival. That's why I say, you should care. Honeybees, for example, if there are no more honeybees, there are no more fruit. And that's happened, They decimate the honeybees, and then they don't pollinate the flowers for the fruit to actually make fruit, Everything is, like I was saying, interrelated and interconnectedness and stuff. And our systems have all to do one with each other. On my phone, it came up a couple times a little bit ago about widgets, telling me, the message just popped up for no reason. I don't know, a few times. Widgets, you want to explore these widgets. And because the widgets are programs within programs that enable the communication between one program and another program, And so the development of widgets is something that, people make a living doing and everything, And well, we can make widgets with the programs within our own selves. They want to put kids and stuff like that sometimes into programs, so that the programs will put forth like a dynamic within them of success or something like that, or whatever, behavior modification, or look, I guess sometimes, like another thing that Putin was saying was, he was saying that he was recalling this propagandist from the Hitler regime, the Nazi regime. He was a propagandist for Hitler to spread propaganda, and he said that the more incredible the lie, the more they will believe it. So I tell you, the world in which we live, it puts out stuff say they make stuff and then they say it's real. They make a problem so they can blow up a city, and they blew up Iran. I seen the pictures. They blew it up. I understand that Jared Kushner, son-in-law of Donald Trump, married to one of his daughters. He was talking about how he wanted to they wanted to take control of the Riviera and that whole area where Iran is, because it's a vital area. That's why people want it, and he want to make it as a resort area for the billionaires. And taken care of by the billionaires, the people with a lot of money. And my mom told me when I was a kid, learning about Republicans and Democrats, because my friend Mike Johnson, his parents were involved in. They always went to the things, that they do around the time of election, and gather and have parties and make plans for getting people involved in their party and everything. My mom told me that the Republicans were for the rich, and the Democrats were for the struggling, the working class, and the higher class was the Republicans. And I understand that now. And the Republicans, they're kind of for freedom and capitalism and not social stuff, capitalistic kind of mindset and freedom. And the Democrats are for helping out the people in need more, and being more fair, and not allowing the people in the higher class to dictate. Donald Trump is obviously a Republican, and he's like an autocrat. Like I don't think you would ever find like a Democrat acting like an autocrat, and that's what Donald Trump acts like. He acts like an autocrat because he is. He's a businessman. He's used to being the complete boss. That's why articles of impeachment were brought up for him, because high crimes and misdemeanors, because he's bypassing Congress and starting war with Iran. America's got a really bad reputation abroad. When I was in the Navy, I was subject to that, and so I know if you want to actually understand, where we are and what people, how we are, you look at what other people say about us. And okay, we got the FBI, and then we got the CIA, and those are all both intelligence organizations. The FBI is the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and the CIA is the Central Intelligence Agency. The CIA has their hands abroad, and they get intelligence, and then and it's secret, they get spies and all that kind of stuff, and intercepting information, and through technology and all that kind of stuff. And the FBI, they're local, but I can tell you that I had stuff happen to me, and I contacted the cops, and they said, "Well, we can't do anything about that. It's not our jurisdiction. You got to contact the FBI. You got to explain to them." So I did contact the FBI, and I just wrote out everything, sent them pictures, all that kind of stuff. And it had to do with a check being stolen from me, one of my paychecks, and signed and cashed, and the person who stole it, the signature on there, and they didn't do anything. The cyber crimes, that's the field of the FBI, the FBI, but they don't really care about people like me, or probably people like you. So right now, those kind of criminals can have a heyday. But these programs are all about maintaining control and national security. And sometimes they pull the wool over the American people's eyes and make something appear one way because they want to get more funding for the ulterior project that they're actually working on. And that's just the way it is. Right. So, sometimes I think it's a sad thing, but that's this is the construct in which we live. This is a construct in which we've been put. You don't really have to. That was like Putin said, you don't have to be a international law expert to just pay attention to what's going on at the higher levels. So, that's why I say go deep. Yeah. Well, I wish I could actually spend more time just thinking about what it actually is that I want to say, but to myself and to you. But I don't know. I guess just just to know that we are, you and I, the prize. Everybody is competing for our attention, and it's our responsibility to see things with a critical eye and not accept things at surface value, and to look at the primary sources. See, when I was in graduate school, especially, that's when I started studying the primary sources. Like for me to study the Bible, I just didn't open up the King James Bible and start reading. All right, I might do that, but I had to look at the primary sources of the actual language and how the councils decided on what would be included and what wouldn't be included, and the history of politics and stuff at that time. And I had to go deep, so that's why I have a master's of divinity. But I'm saying it's a good principle. Always go deep. All right, bye.